Okay, so I'm going to talk about something that I was talking about with a client yesterday. And that is what happens when we move from container, a created container to do deep personal work into the regular world. Um, what happens is oftentimes in self-development or in circling or in different things like this, we sign up to go into a created container where it is designed for us to basically change the laws that we're accustomed to living by. And by that, I mean we're going to speak truths that we don't normally speak. We're going to share nuances in our perspective that we wouldn't normally share. We're going to explore hidden domains of our memories or our histories that we don't usually do in our day to day. Okay. So, this is what happens when we go into a created container, okay, a weekend intensive. We are shifting out of the regular day to day reality and we're moving into a different set of laws or a different bubble that's created. Not only are we doing that, we are doing it with a bunch of other people who have also chosen to leave the regular laws behind and move into this created container, which abides by different laws. This is important. So not only am I abiding by different laws in this created container, others are abiding by different laws in this created container. And this gives us a shared context, shared language, shared experiences by the time the weekend is done, shared desires, shared rules or laws or guidelines or sense-making tools, okay? So we move through this weekend container together, and by the time we're out, we all have a bunch of shared impressions, maps, models, experiences, and lenses that we have in common, okay? On top of our neat individual separate experiences from the weekend. Now, a few things happen. One, in these created containers, depending on them, they have a very strong energetic shift and impact. Okay. So we literally start getting accustomed to living and working in a different vibration. It's like walking to the top of the mountain and the air is thinner there. Your lungs, they get stronger. Okay. Or you like start to pass out because your lungs aren't developed enough to actually do it. That's why you have to go slowly up the mountain so that you can slowly adjust to the change in pressure. Okay, so that same thing is happening when we're in these shared containers. We get acclimatized to the depth of work and the depth of nuance and the depths of subtlety, okay, that we're all working with. And again, we're doing it with others. So there's an energetic field that's happening that we are moving into, that we become accustomed to. It becomes the new water we're swimming in, okay? It's just normalized, okay? When we leave that container, okay, two things start to happen. Oftentimes we're in these containers and we go, oh my God, I want to do this. I want to do this all the time. This is amazing. Okay. That happens in one of two ways. One, there's a natural reverberation, a natural overflowing of everything you've learned, everything you've experienced, everything you've let go of and shed and gained. And you start to bring it into how you're living. Wow. Okay. It's a very natural process. Okay. It's a reverberation. It's this like beautiful nectar. I'm going to say residue, but that's like positive. Okay. The other thing that happens is we have this idea. We should all be relating and living in the world in this way. We should all be doing this. I'm going to start doing this in my life. Okay. Notice the two different qualities. One of them is this natural overflowing expression, this expanse, this you just naturally start bringing it in to your day-to-day relationships. The other is this like forced context. We should be doing it in this way. Okay. So now what's happened is, depending on the container you're in, you have just had a super amplified, we're going to say first person realization expansion. You know yourself more deeply and more fully than you ever have before. And maybe you've learned communication skills where you can help get into someone else's world, which I call second person relating. Okay. And now you've left this created container with all of your fellow friends who are in this shared culture, who are also in this created container. You've left this container and you've entered the regular world. Okay. And now you're bringing all of these aha moments, assumptions, practices, desires, needs that were being met in this created container, and you're putting it on to just like regular people. And that can be very disorienting for the regular people. Okay. In two different ways. So I said first person or second person. One, maybe you know yourself really, really well, and now this place has given you permission to cry and express your truth. So now you're showing up in your family or at the grocery store or in school, and you are just like speaking with your heart open, and you're crying about these amazing feelings that you're having. And it feels so good, okay? And you had powerful experiences over here. And then the people over here are going, huh? Sometimes they go, wow, this is amazing. I'm with you. I love you. I support you. But sometimes they go, what has happened? What has happened to my friend? Are you okay? What's going on? Okay. Now that's if you're just doing like soft, gentle crying work. If you're in a container where you've suddenly been given permission to have a voice or speak your truth or express your anger, okay, you've just left a created container designed to hold that energy. And now you're putting all of these truths and angers and frustrations onto unsuspecting friends and family who have not necessarily been trained or have not been given a context of how to interpret your new behaviors. Okay, so this is where a lot of like kerfuffle starts to happen. Okay, because to you, it's really, really obvious that you're just trying to express your emotional truth, or you're just trying to name your needs. But your partner who hasn't taken the training, they're feeling attacked, they're feeling confused, they're wondering what's happened to their partner. They're all sorts of disoriented, okay? Because one really important thing didn't happen. You didn't give them a map to sense make the new you, okay? And you didn't get permission, or for a better word is buy-in from them, that they're going to start trying to relate to you in this new way. So without a map of understanding, a cognitive model of frame for them to understand this new version of you, they don't know how to relate to you because they don't have a map for them to follow. Okay. So this is why it's really important. If you are going to these transformational weekend experiences, A, try to get your partner to come with you so they have some sort of shared model and languaging framework, or B, try to translate it to them, or C, let go of trying to force your partner into having these experiences with you. Okay. Now, some of you, this might mean, okay, we have to go our separate ways. My partner is not interested in this. This is too big a part of my life. I have to keep going. If they're not coming with me, I have to say goodbye. fair enough. But that doesn't have to be the case. That's kind of like a popular thing right now of like, leave those who don't serve you behind. Well, there's truth to it, okay? But what you can do is just honor, I'm doing a lot of deeply personal work and transformation work. How can I love them and support them in their path, even if they're not with me on mine? Is there a way that they can agree to honor me and my transformation and my growth without them necessarily having to replicate and do everything that I am doing? Okay. Now, this is obviously a point of nuance in all different relationships, and everyone's in relationships for different reasons. Some people are in relationship to grow together, and if that means growing apart, they're still apart together. Others are in relationships because financially it makes sense. Okay. So if you're in a relationship because it financially makes sense, it might be an unrealistic expectation to be wanting your partner to have your emotional journey with you or your journey of transformation. We all have different reasons that we're together. Okay. So sometimes you just have to accept the fact that your partner's not doing the work that you're doing, and that's okay. And yes, maybe you'll need your partner to do the work that you're doing, and so you decide you have to go separate ways. So what then does become important, if you are going into these created containers, okay, what's really important is you need to have two things: compassion and skillfulness. Skillful means, as they say in Buddha Dharma, okay, you're in this created container, you've had all of these transformational experiences, now you're moving back out into the regular world. Okay, how do you skillfully try to transmit or show up for others? Okay, well, there's a point of pain that can happen here. Sometimes it's a human desire to want to be met. I want you to meet me, see me, honor me deeply. Okay. Sometimes we have to acknowledge this person cannot meet me. And we have to grieve that. We have to honor that. I am not met in this domain of my life, even if they meet me in a different domain of my life. And this is a way of bringing compassion to them. Because if you don't honor the fact that you're not feeling met, what you are doing is creating an ongoing state of anger, projection, frustration, and cultivated, I'm going to use the word, it's a bit intense, hatred for that person because they are not being who you want them to be. Okay? They are not being who you want them to be. Because you don't feel met and seen. So you keep trying to get them to be who you want them to be. And that's neither skillful nor compassionate. Okay. So there has to be a certain surrender. Your partner is either doing this work with you or a parallel work with you and you're doing it together, or this is something you're doing a little more solo. Okay. And if you are in the position of doing it a little bit more solo, it's up to you to be the kinder, wiser, stronger human being, okay, that is able to contain and honor them for who they are and their truth, which is separate from you. If we can't do that, this is how we end up building resentment, and this is how all of our self-development trainings ends up destroying relationships. Okay, and there's a lot of people who wake up 5-10 years down the road and they go, I don't understand. I'm not in a relationship and I don't have the kids that I want, but I've taken every self-development training that like everything I do is building relationship and it is clearing my wounds and it is this and it is that. And now I don't have anything that this stuff was supposed to bring. Well, because most of these trainings and most of these teachings are not teaching a certain level of humility, compassion, and skillfulness. Okay. And that humility is just the humility of recognizing sometimes I have to be the first person to say I'm sorry and not keep waiting for them to say it first. Sometimes I have to be the first person to just keep quiet and continue on and ignore the issue. And then if there's an ongoing dialogue or an ongoing issue over time, bring it up. So I won't get into that now. I'll make that into another video so it's more coherent. So the essence of this is we really have to understand that when we're in a created container, there's a created culture within that container, which means you've got a bunch of people who are accustomed to relating to you in a certain way, and you're relating to them in a certain way. And when you leave, okay, you're either going to naturally reverberate what you've been doing, okay, or you're going to start trying to force it on people around you. If you're starting to force it on people around you, you've got to be really careful and use this video to check yourself, okay? Did they buy into actually wanting to learn this system? Okay, do they have a map to learn this system, or are you just suddenly dumping all of your new learnings on them? Okay, what's it like to be them now that you're this new person that showed up? It's probably very scary, disorienting, and confusing. Okay, even if they kind of like it, they need some sort of sense-making map. Okay, so it becomes your responsibility that if you're in a created container and you're coming out to the regular world, you have to find a way to bridge the gap. You have to find a way to translate, okay, what you learned into the day-to-day. And part of that is also just recognizing they're not going to be able to do everything that I could do in that created container. Okay, because they're not in that intense energy. They haven't had the same shared experiences. They haven't had the same impressions of what's possible, of what outcomes might be available. Okay, and you can't force that on them. The best you can do is get them to attend a training with you. And if they can't attend a training with you, then you have your own personal work and alignment to do to not have unrealistic expectations of your partner.